What makes someone a good storyteller? What gives a person the ability to tell stories about love, loss, exile, hope? Is it a talent? Is it a language? Is it technique? Or is it something deeper? We live in a world where artificial intelligence, algorithms, and platforms decide what billions of people see, hear, and read every single day. So in a world like that, the question is no longer how we tell human stories and how the stories are told in general. I think the main question is, who still gets to tell the human story? Because I'm sure many of you will agree with me, attention has become one of the most valuable resources on earth. Entire industries compete for it. Platforms optimize for it. Machines learn from it. And increasingly automated systems decide what rises, what disappears, what trends, what matters, and the most importantly, what is forgotten. So in a world when machines can generate endless content, summarize events in seconds, and personalize our reality for every individual screen, what happens when stories actually require patience? And what happens to the stories that cannot be reduced to one single headline, short reel, or a video? What happens to the suffering that is no longer trending because algorithm says so? I think about this often because I'm a journalist. But I think about this not in theory, but through my own memory. 8 years ago, I found myself in a humanitarian convoy crossing Turkey's border to Syria. Not many journalists were able to enter Syria at the time as the war was raging. We were heading to Atma camp. That's the biggest internally displaced camp for internally displaced people inside Syria. It was raining all day. We had so many checkpoints. Me and my crew, we were thinking, will we ever get there? What is happening? The roads were bad. Eventually, we managed, we entered. So I opened the door, and everything around that camp yelled desperation. Houses, if you call them houses, makeshift tents without any roofs, no windows, no food anywhere, no shops. Children running barefoot without adequate clothes for that type of weather. 5 or 6 girls ran towards me instantly, barefoot, desperate, asking for a little bit of food. I gave them a couple of snacks that I had with me. But they were laughing, they were happy. You know, they were asking me, where are you from? In Arabic. What do I do? And I just stood there and I felt so overwhelmed because at that moment, suddenly, everything switched in my head. I was like them, little girl, 6, 7 years old, sitting next to my mother's desk in one refugee center in Slovenia. It was 1992. Thousands of people were coming to that camp. My mother was writing their names. They were coming from my own country, Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I was just sitting there thinking, where are they coming from? How many kids they have? Do they have toys? How old are, you know, like every other child. Because children usually survive first, then they understand later. At that moment, my story in Syria no longer felt distant. It felt deeply personal. But the thing is, journalism asks from us something difficult. To care deeply, but report clearly. To witness pain, but to remain accurate. To feel emotion, but to avoid exploitation. To stay human, but also to maintain discipline. So you step back, you write a story, you do your interviews, you file the report back, and then when the night came, they told us, it's no longer safe for you to stay. Please return. I was thinking, if it's not safe for us, how is it safe for those little girls who stayed with me throughout the process? And I led them. We worked together, I would say. You see, algorithms, they move on so easily. But I never left that place. Us people, we don't move on so easily from story to story, from trauma to trauma, not just the journalists, everybody. Especially, we don't move on after we see with our own eyes what the war does to children. Now, Syria is rebuilding, as you know. Luckily, the war ended. But trauma still live with people. And I often think about those little girls, what happened to them? Firstly, did they even survive those conditions? I think about men around them. I think about their lives now. I think about so many things. Because all of us journalists, photographers, doctors, aid workers, sometimes we are the last carriers of the story that the world stopped watching. This is why human storytelling matters, because our presence matters. AI these days can make our lives so easy. It can generate scripts, voiceovers, captions. It can help newsrooms with limited resources to do more. This is so important, especially for the parts of the world that are not so developed. I guess we should be excited because now we can work smarter, we can save time. Because CEO and AI experts, they talk about these AI agents, ChatGPTs, that will be so capable in the future that they will change every profession. Well, everybody in my profession is already changed so much. And we are all just trying to understand and cope and figure out what to do. But if there's one thing that I would like all of you to take from my talk today is that capability, it's not the same as wisdom. And speed, it's not the same as understanding. Once I said to AI, while I was preparing for this talk, I said to ChatGPT, please write me a story about Syria, and I gave all the information that I just shared with you, my personal story. It was okay, the result was good. It even had some emotions in it. It had information, but it lacked moral encounter. It lacked the truth of being there. Truth is not only information, it's how it felt. Truth is the smell of those tents. Truth is that pause a mother gave me before she answered my question. Truth is recognizing when silence says more than words. And also truth is when someone gives you the trust, who lost everything to speak to you, who says, okay, I'll speak to you. That's the truth. Truth is also knowing when to stop filming and leave. There is one amazing journalist that I really liked, I follow her work. Her name is Yalda Hakim. And when she talked about deep fakes and disinformation, she said, truth is increasingly fragile in this world of AI. I couldn't agree more. Because I want to add one more thing, actually. The future will not belong to those who generate the most content, but to those who protect the most truth. Many journalists experimenting with AI, they say the same thing, right? They say it lacks empathy, it lacks intuition. And it can support reporting, but cannot replace witnessing, because witnessing is a moral act. It's a responsibility to go there. That's journalism at its best. So I don't want this speech to be a speech about a battle between machines and people, Because it's not. We can use these tools. There's one amazing Turkish artist, his name is Refik Anadol, and he creates art with digital tools. He says we could use maybe AI to reimagine our shared history. We could recreate events. Can you imagine that you could recreate the story of your grandparents? And we can use this for our collective memory, for our shared experiences. So in the future, maybe we do better. I find this vision so inspiring. So this year I turned 40, actually 2 days ago, and I work in media 20 years, half of my life. And if there's one thing that I've learned is that change is good and stagnation is not. Every generation receives new tools. So storytelling has been changed so many times. Printing press, radio, television, internet, they made such a big impact on storytelling. Well, AI is our tool that is changing us. But the thing is, whether we allow each new tool to shrink us or challenge us to become better humans. As machines are getting better in generating more content, we must become better at generating meaning. And I think this is our task, not just as journalists. You will notice that I started talking from journalistic perspective, but I think this is for everybody. We need to become more ethical because systems are becoming more powerful. We need to become more compassionate while systems are becoming more efficient. So if machines control our attention every single time we go on our news feeds, then humans must defend intention. So who tell the human story when machines compete for every second of our attention? We do, if we keep asking hard questions, looking for truth, and listening longer than the algorithm rewards. Picking the stories about other people, caring about other people, choosing depth over just a distraction. Choosing depth over noise. We should also listen more to those who are actually there, who know the truth and the stories. But we can still use all these new tools, but we should not give up on our values. We should not let algorithm tells us what our values are. Because machines can optimize attention, they can store memory, but they cannot live a human life. I think AI could not write my talk today because it's my own experience, it's my story. And whatever information I gave it to AI, it wouldn't be the same, it just wouldn't. We gathered today under this title, Singularity. That is a moment often described as the point where technological growth becomes so rapid, so transformative, that it changes civilization itself. Maybe this moment will come, maybe we are already there. I don't know, there are different theories. But we do live in a world that's so accelerated, so fast. But one thing is already true. It's not about whether machines are becoming wiser and taking over everything. It's about us being also like keeping up the pace, move fast, but stay grounded, embrace change, but stay true to our values. In a transformed world, we can still protect what makes us human. So next time when you go on your social media accounts and you want to watch a story, think about it a little bit. Don't focus just on maybe things that at that moment are trending. Look behind the headlines. Don't let it control you. Capability will never be the same as wisdom, and speed will never be the same as understanding. So, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this talk. Thank you so much.